Hello, listeners, and apologies for any quality issues this episode. We've just had a heck of a time getting my computer ready to set up because my headset decided it wasn't going to play, so I've got a weird MacGyverish setup going on. I literally just walked through the door before jumping on to record and didn't get much sleep last night, so any rambling, apologies. Fortunately, I'm here with a professional, though, so he will be able to set me straight, won't you, Mr.
He also didn't get much sleep last night and he'll probably ramble. But we'll do it in a more professional manner, I guess.
I mean, you usually do, to be fair. I am probably the unprofessional one of the two.
Let's just call it a draw and leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough. So we're here once more to talk about Doctor Who, specifically episode 5 of this 2020 series, which is titled Fugitive of the Judoon. Warning in advance, there will be spoilers because we'll be reviewing the episode, we'll go into some plot points and stuff. I don't know if B, you want to delve a bit more deeply into any ideas and theories of where the series could be going and stuff as well, or whether you just want to...
I think we'll do general thoughts on the episode and then we'll just get into it and see where we go, because cool. I feel we've got a lot to try and unpick.
Digest, yeah. Sweet. Okay, so the blurb for the episode is... Go show blow! Trigger-happy space police, the Judoon, are targeting 21st century Gloucester. The Doctor, Yaz, Ryan and Graham race back to Earth in order to prevent them doing too much damage to the cathedral city. But who are they looking for? And what do they do to incur the wrath of the Judoon? That's the blurb.
That's the blurb done. That's the episode done.
That's the episode. Thanks for listening. See you next time. So, yes, this was written by Vinny Patel and Chris Chibnall. So it's kind of a double-hand writer, and I've got a feeling this is one of those ones where it was generally Vinny Patel's episode, but Chris Chibnall added in the overarching plotty stuff, and there was such a large amount of it, I think, with this episode that he definitely deserved a second credit. Yeah. But we'll get into that as we go. I mean, do you want me to start, or do you want to?
I don't mind.
I'll tell you what, then I'll give you my my first thoughts then.
Okay.
So initially, I've got to say, I kind of felt a bit old because, and I'll tell you the reason why, is because they'd kind of build the Judoon coming back as being an old enemy returning. And I was thinking, they're not old. They were only introduced in 2006, which I then realised was like 13 years ago. No, more than that, 16 years ago. 14 years ago. I can't do maths. So yeah, that does make them old now when you think about it.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, so I suddenly feel old.
God, I feel like I'm about three regenerations over my limit.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just shows you how far we've come, though, doesn't it? Because you think about that, 2005 had been off the air for 12 years, and it's just been going since then. So that's a long time, really, for any series.
Yeah.
So firstly that. Secondly, although as I spoke about last week, I spoke about before, I'm not a fan of the whole kind of give a humanoid an animal head and call it an alien kind of design. But I really liked the Judoon in this episode. It surprised me. I kind of just went with it, and I thought they were serving the purpose for which they've been created, being that kind of like police for hire kind of role. And I didn't particularly roll my eyes at them at all. So that kind of surprised me, to be fair. I did kind of think I was a bit confused by some of their technology that they've got. It seemed a bit too advanced, but later in the episode, once I saw who they were working for, didn't really mind about that. I just kind of thought, they're just borrowing it. And I thought the plot as a whole kind of worked. It was a bit of a mystery as to exactly what they were after and who they were working for and stuff. And then lots of twisty turns that came later. So I've not really got too much, off the top of my head at least, to moan about with this episode, if I'm honest. How about you?
So, going into this, I was expecting to not like this episode, just because I was never really that much of a fan of the Judoon. It's the Judoon coming to modern day Earth, blah 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 blah. And I remember watching the trailer and thinking, okay, okay, well we'll get through this one,
Yeah.
And I have to say, I want to say this pipped Skyfall for me. I would say this is my favourite episode so far. It is my favourite episode so far. Reason being, I've actually watched this episode twice. And this is the first episode of Doctor Who that I've watched twice in years.
I must admit, this is the first one that I've still been thinking about, Days.
Yeah.
Just for perspective, people, we're recording this later than we normally would. It's Wednesday, after it's aired. But I've not really stopped thinking about it very much at all.
No, and I was down in a very rare occasion. Two rare things happened. One, I was down in London, and two, I met up with Dave. So we had lunch and we should have recorded, but it's that thing sometimes you haven't seen each other for a while. Your first thought isn't, let's get out a recording device. It's just, it was more or less and I needed to talk to him and kind of about Dot 2. So we kind of offloaded. I got his thoughts, he gave me my thoughts. We kind of went back and forth. If anyone's interested, I'm sure we'll pick up again on GS when we record next. But Dave also enjoyed the episode. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought as an episode in its own right, it was really good. Quite suspenseful. We didn't quite know what was going on. Before we get onto the big spoilery stuff, I remember, you had the little old lady. He was kind of sitting on the park bench, sort of.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she kind of mouths off to the Judoon, and they just kill her.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Because that's what I just thought. Wow, if you're willing to take out a little old white lady, I mean, all bets are off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and she was running away. She got shot in the back as well. I mean, it was hardcore. And then the kind of semi-comic relief shop owner guy, they then took him out as well. And I was like, literally anyone who had a speaking part, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, that did actually add to the tension a bit, because a lot of times, like, when the Judoon come in, they were sold as these kind of like thuggish, brutish, by the book kind of police people, but you didn't see it particularly much.
Yeah.
Whereas this time you did. It was like guilty and execution time, like,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, as I say, all bets were off almost from the beginning, really.
Yeah, and I think and obviously we'll get onto the big stuff, but the way they introduced the character of Ruth. No, even watching it the second time around, other than actually there are some other things I spotted, I had no idea from her introduction. There were other things happen later on which we'll talk about, but I had no idea. And the way I saw it going, and it was going exactly the way I saw it going, as in her boyfriend was dodgy as all hell.
Yeah.
And he was going to turn out to be some kind of alien fugitive, and there'll be something around that, some mystery around that. And even when the doctor scanned him, it was like, oh no, you're both human. I was like, yeah, but we know he's not. Blah blah blah. At no point was I looking at her.
No, she felt like a victim almost.
She was a victim until obviously certain other people turn up and they scan the guy and the way they're talking about, and then you realise that he's not the fugitive. She is. Well, they both are in some ways, but she's the main person that they're looking for. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting now. But even then, I still didn't know it was going to go where it was going to go. I thought it was they were doing almost, which they were, a kind of Born Identity type thing, where she was kind of some badass warrior, but her memory's been erased or whatever.
Yeah.
Mainly because you saw her with a gun and you saw her kind of using martial arts. And so it was I'd really like to know how the episode was put together, because it felt like some of the decisions in it were specifically towards keeping us in the dark for as long as possible, and it worked.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that kind of shocked me a little bit about this episode, because I don't expect, like last series and so far this series, I don't really expect anything too out there in terms of plot. Things tend to go the way you think they're going.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be that. It's wrong to say it's kind of like almost like as if the plots are more childish. That's the wrong word, but do you know what I mean? They're kind of more straightforward.
More straightforward, I think.
Yeah. Whereas this, it was almost Stephen Moffat levels of twistiness.
Well, the thing was as well is that something was. I've got to say, it's the first time someone spoiling something for me actually helped. So I knew Captain Jack was in it.
Oh, okay.
Because it was spoiled for me the morning I was going to watch the episode.
Right.
And I got to give a shout out to Keith Bloomfield, because he sent me a message that basically said, just watched tonight's Doctor Who and now can't wait to hear your next Who review podcast, which told me, now the last time I spoke to him was, I don't know, it's been a while, on Messenger anyway. So it's kind of came out of the blue. So that alone said to me I needed to watch this episode sooner than when I was originally going to watch it. And like I said, before I went to watch it, it got spoiled that Captain Jack Harkness was in it. So I went in there pissed off because I was like, well, I already know he's in it. So, I was trying to sort of dial the spoiler back by saying to myself, well, it's more about how is he going to come into it, how they're going to use him, what's his connection to the Fugitive, which as it turns out was nothing. So I think for me, it worked because I was so busy with that's the spoiler, was actually that, yes, that was a spoiler, but that was nothing compared to what was coming down the line.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I must admit, I quite liked, because when it, they can't remember who goes up first. Graham, isn't it? Graham gets beamed up to the ship.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you heard a voice, and Amy was like, "Is that John Barrowman?" And then he kind of appears, and I quite like the fact again it was quite a quick thing. You kind of had voice, and then there he was, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of dipped him in and out through the episode with this whole Cybermen kind of side. Well, what should have been the main plot point, frankly, for the series, but has become a secondary concern now almost. About this lone Cyberman and this potential new cyber empire and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was a good use of the character, and I think it was a clever use of the character because of one of my theories, which we may or may not get into in a bit, because I think it's a deliberate callback to something sort of. But yeah, I just quite liked it, and I was wondering if you kind of caught on to this, but I think part of the reason why this episode felt like it worked more was because, and again, no disrespect to any of the actors involved or anything, but the Doctor didn't have 3 companions with her. They were gone for the episode. They were with Captain Jack off on the ship in the B plot.
Yeah.
And she was just on her own with Ruth and Lee.
Yeah.
So there was almost more focus on her and the secondary characters.
More room to breathe.
Yeah. So I think that kind of helped. But again, they didn't feel sidelined because they did have that kind of B plot that felt like it was important to the series.
Yeah.
And it comes back to what we said before about, the Doctor doesn't need all 3 of them there. There isn't enough screen space for them to all breathe, generally. Yeah. But actually that worked, and it proved actually that it can work with all 3 of them. Yeah. And yeah, they were basically just gathering exposition from Captain Jack and whatnot. But I don't know, it worked somehow.
I agree. So obviously, let's get into it. We've told, we've given our overall thoughts. So Ruth turns out to be another Time Lord, not just another Time Lord, but another incarnation of the Doctor.
Indeed.
So for me, I said this to Dave, and Dave was like, I didn't see that. And he went, For me, when wheels started to turn, but not enough to make the connection, was when they killed the bloke who you thought was the Fugitive.
Mm.
And the sort of commander, is her name Gat? Is her name Gat?
Yes. Let's look. Gat. Yeah.
Yeah. Turns up, and kind of does the whole evil villain speech to him, and then he goes for a gun, and he says, "Oh, we had the same in training." He's like, and then she says, "Oh, farewell, faithful companion," and it was that phrase.
Right. Yeah.
In my head, something clicked, but it didn't click enough.
Yeah.
And the thing was, as the wheels started turning, the next scene we had was they're in the church, and she takes out like all the Judoon and breaks off the guy's horn.
Yeah.
Or one of his horn or whatever. And to me, I know, and Dave said something about John Pertwee's Doctor kind of knowing Venusian Aikido, but forgetting that for a second, for me, it was certainly in this current sort of run of Doctor Who, it was such a un-Doctor move.
Yeah, and the point was she was attacking as well, because even with John Pertwee, he was generally defending or escaping using those moves, and it was almost like judo kind of thing. So it was like a defensive martial art rather than she was going balls to the wall.
Yeah, she fought like a warrior. She fought like to me it was like a Born Identity, where literally a switch had gone and she was like, I'm not having this, and she just took him out.
Yeah.
And the wheels that had been turning stopped. Because I think somewhere subconsciously my brain was saying, well, she can't be any kind of Time Lord, because that's not how they, do you know what I mean? That's not how they operate. And it was when she kept seeing the lighthouse and you kept hearing voices and stuff, I immediately flashed back to Utopia and to Human Nature.
Yeah.
That's when it started to click. That's when I was like, hang on a minute. I remember them doing stuff like that, but it was a watch and blah, blah, blah. And I think they then showed, because it was saying, he'd said to her, you need to break the glass. And it showed the thing that she needed to break, and it looked like a pocket watch.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was almost like a fire alarm thing, but not.
Yes. Yeah. It was, and that was enough for me. I was like, okay. But in my head, I was like, okay, she's a Time Lord. That was as far as I got. I'm like, she's a Time Lord, and that's, and I couldn't remember what it was called. It's called the Chameleon thing.
Chameleon Arch, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember it, but I knew that's what it was. And even when the energy was coming into her head, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's done the same way.
I have to be honest. For me, it was only when, and it's around the same scene because it's kind of intercut, but it was when the Doctor, when the 13th Doctor dug up and saw the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That's when it kind of clicked for me. But again, it's part of this whole thing of I don't expect, and it sounds wrong, but I kind of mean it in a good way in many ways. I don't expect to be thinking while watching Doctor Who. So I was just enjoying the episode.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking, I don't really know what's going on. This is interesting. And I was like, oh shit, where are they going with this sort of thing? But again, it was just, as you say, it was so well done and it was intercut well. And there's those little, as you say, if you're looking for them, or if you've got more of a writer brain anyway, so you think a bit more plotty than I do. So kind of like, putting those things together, it made it wasn't an out of the blue reveal kind of thing. It actually felt like it had been earned.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And I think when you watch it a second time, there's more setup. There's more setup.
Than you first. Yeah.
Even that little shot where it opens, where she's just literally focused on her watch, watching the minute hand go around, and it's just all about time, And like you say, the fact that the Judoon were using kind of time weaponry, because they were trying to set that thing up, weren't they?
Yeah.
There were clues there, and I've got to say, yes, there's probably a longer conversation I may have with Dave, but I don't know. But straight out of the gate, I loved the new Doctor. I don't know. I don't even know what to call her. Do you know what I mean?
For now, I think for the purpose of the podcast, we'll just call the Ruth Doctor.
Yeah, the Ruth Doctor. Straight out of the gate, the outfit was money. I loved her. I loved her outfit because it had a bit of a steampunk / adventurer vibe to it. I loved the little glasses that she wore, and I loved her because she was different. We had this conversation about kind of a lot of the Doctors in this new, we can't even say new run of Who. Do you know what I mean? But the Who that started from Christopher Eccleston, there's always been this vein running through them all.
Yeah.
A kind of very similar vein running through them all, where they have this sort of very wacky side to them type thing. Whereas the Ruth Doctor, there was still a vein there, but it was different.
She felt more, pardon the terrible pun that's going to sound like I'm making, I'm not really meaning to, but more ruthless.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's what we should call it, the Ruthless Doctor. Boom! Boom! Take that, Big Finish.
So yeah, I've got to say as well, because I've not been a huge fan of some of the TARDIS designs that they've had since the series has been rebooted, and the 13th Doctor is one I don't particularly like. I don't like the crystal dildos, for want of a better word. Sorry, do you know what remind me of actually? They remind me of Push Pops.
Okay.
Remember Push Pops?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
They remind me of those, and it annoys me. But Ruth's console room, because it was so, it was a remodeled version of the one that they did for An Adventure in Space and Time, and they've used it obviously several times over the years now, as the first Doctor's TARDIS in Peter Capaldi's last episode, and various other bits. But I just love the blue glow, the kind of, it just felt, although it was,
it looked like a spaceship.
Yeah,
yes.
it was that, because it was that original console, but it was still different, and
yeah,
I think it was just the lighting that made it different.
Yeah.
And the blue lighting, I just loved. And as you say, she looked like the Doctor, but a different Doctor.
Yes. And there were still things that she did. I quite like the bit where they both started to talk together.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where the Doctor's like, as in the 13th Doctor's kind of explaining it all, and then Rufus Doctor is like, congratulations, you've just figured it,
Yeah.
you've just figured out something 5 minutes slower than someone that's just had her memory returned to her. Well done, 5 points.
Yeah.
So she's still got that kind of, like you say, that sort of slight wackiness, but there's, like you say, there's more of an edge to it. And the whole confrontation, the final confrontation and stuff, I really liked, because she was still the Doctor, but in a different way. She weren't. I'll give you a chance, which is what she was doing. Like, don't use the gun, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep when you do it, because I warned you. And the scene that she then does is the scene that there's some stuff I want to say about Jodie's performance in this, but she says one phrase, and I'm like, that was the scene that I've wanted to see from Jodie's Doctor. And it's when, like, it's all sort of done and dusted, and she does the whole speech about them being into interstellar space and they've got no jurisdiction. And she's holding the gun and she's kind of like, do not come for me again, ever. And I'm not even doing that service. I rewatched that scene about 6 times because I'm like, that's what I want to see. That was what I was waiting for. Do you know what I mean? We got all the wackiness, but also I'm a being that has lived for thousands of years. I don't have time for your nonsense. And that's what she did, and she did it really well. And then that sort of final conversation she had with sort of Jodie, where it's kind of like, one of us is wrong. I'd like you to get off my ship now. So, although Dave made a good point about that, and I agreed with him, and I feel it's been done for plot reasons, so they can stretch it out rather than actually, this would be more sensible. That surely they would have stayed together to have tried to sort out what the heck was going on.
Yes, to be fair though, until you said it and Dave said it, I'd not really considered that. But yes, that does feel more of a Doctor thing to do. But then I also kind of got the impression that the Ruth Doctor didn't really care what was going on.
Yeah.
And she just wanted to get out of there. And that's the kind of Doctor she was. She was kind of like, so, and this is again going off on a bit of a tangent, but in Big Finish they did a series of adventures back not long after they started, called Doctor Who Unbound, which were like alternative universe Doctors and different what if kind of stories.
Yeah.
And there was 2 of them that they did, and it was the first one they did and the last one they did, where David Warner was playing the Doctor, and he was very much a world weary traveller, but he did not want to get involved.
Right.
And in that sense, she reminded me of him. And they've kind of continued. So David Warner now, he's been back for a few series in the New Adventures of Bernice Summerfield that Big Finish are doing, which have almost become, it's that version of the Doctor and Benny kind of thing going around and having adventures. But again, there's so many episodes where he's like, I just don't want to get involved, and it's in that case it's Benny sort of dragging him in. And the Ruth Doctor sort of reminded me of him. It's kind of like, I've done it all. I don't care. I just want to live my life. That's why she came to Earth.
Yeah.
That's why she chameleon art. She just wanted to live.
Yeah.
So I kind of got the impression she was essentially just massively annoyed that someone's come into her life and is trying to drag her back into that kind of thing. She's like, I don't want to know. You sort it out. I'm off.
Yeah.
So that's the read I got on it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I would have liked to have seen, and again, I think that for an episode that's only 50 minutes, they had to pack a lot in, and I think they did a good job. It would have been nice just, to have seen her reaction to the fact that her companion's now dead.
Yes.
Because clearly they meant a lot to each other because of the fact that they'd run to another planet to effectively start a life together. Because it wasn't the same as like Human Nature, where it was like Martha was like a maid and stuff, and the Doctor was like a teacher, and they went together. These two were actually a couple.
Yeah, I mean, they were husband and wife on Earth.
They were husband and,
and both clearly willing to die for each other.
Yeah. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more with that, but like I said, with the time they had. However, sort of swinging back around to sort of Jay's performance, I thought she was good in this, and I think a lot of that, like you said, was because she was kind of flying solo, and I think there was a lot of, I think her and Ruth worked really well together, and she was just so shell shocked. There's a scene straight after when she's walking down a canal and they come up to her and it's like, oh, where have you been? And she was just, she had nothing. She had nothing. And I don't know if maybe that was another reason why they didn't sort of stick around is, like you say, Rufus Doctor wanted to get out of Dodge, and 13th Doctor was like, I don't even know what the hell's going on. I haven't even got the headspace to try and deal with this.
Yeah, and I think, in just going back to what you were saying as well, I think the other thing with the Ruth Doctor is she had just lost Lee, so she didn't want to process anything. She just wanted to get out and spend that time alone as well, sort of thing. So I think that's all. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, even John Barrowman in this episode, I was sold by, and let's face it, there are times when he's just Captain Cheese monster. But he worked the kind of the hints he was dropping about this cyber empire and this lone cyberman who's going to want something and the Doctor can't give it to him and stuff, and this weapon, whatever it is, it's been sent back through time and space and stuff. Again, that should have felt like the big reveal that's going to drive the series.
No, yeah.
But it just clearly doesn't. And then we've got this whole, as you say, like, Ruth is clearly the Doctor, but what Doctor, when Doctor,
Yeah.
They don't recognise each other, why, sort of thing. And again, I've got ideas for that, and there are plenty of ideas on the internet for people who want to look for them. Some of which I think have merit, and some of which I really don't. But the fact that people are talking about it in that way, if nothing else, it almost doesn't matter what the resolution is.
No, because and I've seen some people that have been complaining and doing this whole thing. Obviously people have gone completely the other way and have gone, oh, you've just destroyed. I don't know how long Doctor Who's been going for now, so I want to say 30 years, but I don't know. You've just destroyed decades of like canon and blah 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 and all this sort of stuff. And again, I said, Steve, we are at episode 5 of a 10 episode series. It is 10 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah. This is the mid-series finale.
Yeah. A 10 episode series. This is the equivalent of being halfway through a book.
Yeah.
So, I think the word is patience. Because obviously, you would hope this is going to all be explained, and we've got 5 more episodes in which to do that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there may be another conversation as to when we get to the end that we may not necessarily like the explanation. I don't know, but we're only halfway through the series, so
and for where we're at, it's perfect.
It's perfect. So I just think throwing out, that's it. You've ruined the whole continuity and blah blah blah. Where when we've still got half a series to go, I just feel it's like way too premature to be throwing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, don't get me wrong. What was it, 2 episodes ago? Which actually now I think was a deliberate thing, almost possibly, because I was moaning about, that's not how time travel works in Doctor Who. It's not potential futures. It's, events happen that happen.
Yeah.
However, there was that whole thing about, potential timelines and stuff. So is that what's happening? Is there some timey-wimey, stuff? You just don't know, and you don't know where it's going. And Doctor Who has changed its mind about things all the time, forever. There was never, in the classic series, certainly up until the 80s, there was never really anything even resembling a canon. It was a fire and forget weekly serial.
Yeah.
We had 2 blooming origins for the Daleks, at the very least. Because in the first story they were in, you get given one chain of events, and then in like 1970, whatever, you get blooming Genesis of the Daleks, which completely contradicts it. I mean, it's... I understand, like, you've got to be internally consistent, but the point is, Doctor Who has never been that rigid, and things are always fluid. The Doctor wasn't even a Time Lord till 1969. Well, actually, wasn't. His home planet wasn't named till 1975. You didn't have two hearts until the middle of John Pertwee's run. These things just change and happen.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it was Dr. Who in the blooming credits for the first 20 years, and then you get people like me who moan that it's not. Oh no, it's not Dr. Who, it's Doctor Who. But 30 years it was Dr. blooming Who. And like you say, it's halfway through the season. We've got 5 episodes to go. Things are going to be explained. I don't know whether all the way, but certainly to a point. This is clearly tying back to the whole destruction of Gallifrey / not destruction of Gallifrey / the timeless child origin of Gallifrey. There are bigger things at work than oh look, there's another incarnation of Doctor that we never know about. Blah blah blah. Who cares? They've explained that neither of those Doctors know about each other. So there's clearly a reason for that.
So that's and the intriguing thing is, like, it's clearly not in her sort of cycle of regenerations or whatever that she's aware of. So there is that whole thing. And my thing is as well, is like, without getting too much into certain things we could say, because I actually don't want to talk about those things, because I don't think those things are important in the context of this episode. When you had that episode where they introduced the War Doctor, no one knew about him before.
Nope.
And everyone was like, oh, wow, do you know what I mean? So, and then it got explained.
Yeah.
They explained it, and everyone, well, for the most part, I'm assuming, accepted it, because by that time, they liked the character.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm like, you can give me an explanation that and I'll be happy with it. But even if you give me an explanation which doesn't necessarily hold water, I don't care, because I liked her.
Yeah, absolutely.
If she was rubbish, then we got a problem. But she wasn't. And I'm like, A, I want to see more of her. B, I don't think, as some people have said, look, she's not getting her own series.
No.
Jodie's already, she's not getting her own series. However, what that does mean is she's going to be available, Big Finish got to get involved with that.
Yeah.
I'm all over that. I'm all over that. If they snap her up for Big Finish, I think she'll shine there. Obviously, depending on how this is all going to work out and what the scenario is and blah blah blah.
I'm not being funny though. Big Finish could find a way to make it work no matter what.
Regardless, yeah.
I mean, they did it with with Derek Jacobi's Master. His whole story, according to his backstory in the TV show, was he was found as a baby.
Yeah.
And grew old, so he didn't know he was the Master. And yet they found a way to make him have 4 series so far of audios in between that, before that time even starts.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So
you to get on those.
So they, Big Finish could do it. I'm not being funny, but the TV show could do it if they wanted to. Or
yes, yeah, they could.
There are ways and there are means. So this whole kind of like, oh, there's no space for them to fit in and stuff. Yeah, okay, fine. I subscribe to that, but then actually there are spaces to fill in, and there are also alternative means that this could be possible.
So to sort of round it, because I'm aware we've been talking for 45 minutes, which is what I kind of thought would happen.
Yeah.
But to sort of round, obviously we both liked the episode, but let's just briefly talk theories.
Okay.
I haven't really got any theories around Lone Cybermen and Timeless Child and stuff like that, because I feel this is deep into Who lore. And although I have watched a lot of Doctor Who and a lot of the old Doctor Who, I don't know. But as far as the Ruthless Doctor is concerned, a part of me wants to, I'm sure you'll go, well, no, that's just not possible. But a part of me just wants to go the simplest solution, which is alternate universe.
Yeah. This is kind of where I'm going. And the main reason is you had episodes 1 and 2, which introduce an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Captain Jack, the last time he was involved in Doctor Who, revolved around an alternate universe, because it was Rose coming back over to this universe and Metacrisis Doctor. So whether she is a regeneration of the Metacrisis Doctor, which would explain why, the human Doctor, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Because he had.
But wasn't he human though? As in, like, he wouldn't regenerate; he'd just grow and die.
Don't know, because it depends what they do with it. That might, and again, you could just say, well, that's what the Doctor thought would happen, but actually, he was left with a piece of TARDIS to grow his own TARDIS.
Was he?
Yeah, they left him a piece of coral.
But then
Also,
he could have had a different set of
regenerations from that point on.
regenerations.
Also, he was an angry fella who didn't mind using violence. He was the one who wiped out the Daleks in that story.
Yeah.
So she kind of fits with that. However, I don't think that's her origin. But I do think alternate universe Gallifrey, because obviously Gap wasn't aware that Gallifrey had been destroyed as far as Jodie Whittaker's concerned. And then you're left with who's in the wrong universe.
Ooh.
You know, whose universe is this? Is this the Ruthless Doctor's universe? Or is this Jodie's universe? You know, and where how things happen. So for me, that's the ultimate. I've seen other theories that I don't necessarily subscribe to do with, you know, it's a pre-Hartnell Doctor who.
No, I'm
but
not buying that.
You know, the police box doesn't work in that case because, and neither does calling himself the Doctor, because that was really, it was a Hartnell Doctor thing. He was Doctor because you know, old knowledgeable man kind of thing, and the TARDIS only got stuck in his first story. And you'd have to have a whole kind of like, oh yeah, and he got mind wiped or something, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And also as well, the way that the Ruthless Doctor was talking was that she's clearly already been through several regenerations.
Yeah, she's been through a lot.
That was the impression that I got, and it's just that she couldn't remember. But then the thing is, she's saying like, you know, I don't remember. I would have remembered being you, and vice versa. But what if, in terms of regenerations, they're both at the same level?
Yeah, or you know, as you say, they're different Doctors, so they're still the Doctor.
Yeah.
But they're different Doctors. So yeah, so let's say one could be, they could still both be the 13th Doctor. One could be the 5th Doctor. One could be the 13th. One could be the 2nd Doctor. Although, as you say, clearly the Ruth Doctor's been through a lot, and like you, I got the impression that she was late on in her life cycles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as I say, I've seen other theories out there about the season 6B Doctor, which is ones we've thought about for years, which is essentially this all stems from the fact that you don't actually see Patrick Troughton regenerate into John Pertwee. So you, at the end of the War Games, you see Patrick Troughton start to regenerate, and then in Spearhead from Space, John Pertwee just falls out of the TARDIS.
Right.
And then there's this Colin Baker story with Patrick Troughton in it, where Patrick Troughton is working for the Time Lords and has like a TARDIS recall device and stuff, which was something he never had in his shows. So there's this whole thing of, oh yeah, so he's clearly working for the Time Lord, and maybe there was some regenerations there that we don't know about, and the Time Lords wiped the memory sort of thing. I don't buy that. That's just fan nonsense.
That seems a bit. I mean, it's going to be a convoluted enough explanation as is.
Exactly, and for new viewers,
Yeah,
that's just going to be, what are you even talking about?
Because the other thing is as well, where again it's that thing of, you know, don't look at something too closely, but the two things that they could have done. I mean, obviously we don't want them to do plot-wise. We want the plot to go on. Do you know what I mean? But two things they could have done was when she mind melded with, and I suppose that could have really messed her up. With Gat, why couldn't she have done that with the Ruthless Doctor?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
if she'd done that, then they would have literally gone. Because you almost wanted them to compare regenerations. Because I think if you'd done that and go, oh, do you remember being this guy? Do you remember being this guy? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How long? And literally going, how long have you been a woman for?
Yeah.
You know. So now it all brings a different thing as well. Is like, is the Master her master, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because technically, we've seen all the Master. Well, as far as we're aware, because we saw John Sim. John Sim mentions. So Missy mentioned about being scared by an angry woman and always carrying a spare part and stuff. So that was kind of full cycle, and them killing each other. So technically that had ended. So yeah, this Master could well be that other universe's Master.
That would be cool. I have to say that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could well be that they don't even know that they've jumped a timeline, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I say at this stage, I just generally don't know where they're going to go with it, and that's what I like. I say I've got in my head my vague ideas, which we've discussed.
My last question to you, because I have no. One thing I wanted to say actually, I really liked, as I said, when she came back to the TARDIS and she was just I don't know, in shock, I think, for the best term. I really liked, I feel the delivery could have been stronger, but I really liked the speech that Ryan gave.
Was it Ryan or was it Greg?
Right. Well, it was
Ryan,
kind of all. It was kind of all of them. They kind of split it up.
Yeah. It's like we're with you no matter what, sort of thing.
Yeah, but there's a bit where he goes, I know who you are. You're the doctor, and she gives this little smile. You have to go and watch it, and it kind of is a bit heartbreaking because it's almost like she'd started to doubt who she was.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe I'm the accident, maybe I'm on shit. And he's like, I know you are, you're the doctor. And she gives a little smile, and then everyone else gives the big speech and blah, blah, blah. And it was, I thought it was really well done, I thought, that bit. But yeah, my question to you is, what's your thoughts on the Timeless Child?
So do you know what? Again, it's one of those things that I haven't particularly given too much thought to, but there is a part of me that's thinking one of the doctors will or won't be the Timeless Child. Because my thinking was sort of like, if you're a doctor out of your universe, you're essentially out of your time, ergo timeless. And it wouldn't be beyond television to have someone go back and create their own society. But then, as I say, we had the whole master thing of that story about the Timeless Child. It was a lie. But then what about it was a lie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the lone Cyberman a Timeless Child? I don't know. I haven't gone too much into that line of thought because I've been focusing on the bit that really interested me, and that's the Doctor, because the Doctor's always interested me as a character.
Yeah.
And Gallifrey and other bits, not so much. So I don't know, have you given that any thoughts or?
No, like I said, I haven't. There was just something in the way, whatever it's going to be one of those story beats that's going to split everyone.
Yeah.
Because I think it will be massive, just because of the way the Master kind of talked about it, and the fact that he burnt. I know the guys, not all there, but burnt Gallifrey to a crisp just from after finding out whatever it was. Involving the Timeless Child, and how they betrayed them. It's got to be something. I don't know, but you're right. I keep coming back to the alternate universe thing. Because that, like you say, and it was the Master that introduced that as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and it just feels this season that things are actually being seeded.
Yes, and the fact that she said about it, she made this big thing about saying, it feels like time is swirling around me.
Yeah.
And she dropped like the Master and Captain Jack Harkness and Ruth, and that something's just going on around her. And yeah. It's really, I'm loving it. I'm loving the mystery of it.
Yeah, exactly that for me.
Cool.
I think that's probably enough rambling for now. Apologies for this. Even when I've edited, this is going to be a bit longer than normal, so apologies for that. But I feel it had to be. Yeah, I mean, without making the episode a two-parter.
Yeah, I mean, it could have quite easily been a two-part.
Yeah. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to us ramble. Apologies for any audio issues or quality problems. Bellas will be back next week, and bring on more Doctor Who. So thanks again. You can find us obviously at Geek Syndicate website, Facebook, at Geek Syndicate on Twitter is Barry. I'm at WedgeDoc. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know what you think of this review episode. Let us know what you've been thinking of the series as a whole.
Yes, and I'm really interested. I know people listen now because I've had a couple of people who have said they're looking forward to listening to the review. So, bit of homework for you. I'm really interested in hearing what people's theories are regarding not only the Ruthless Doctor, trademark, but also the Timeless Child. I want to hear theories, people. We're midway through the series. I want to hear theories so we can kind of thrash out.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well, because it's. In fact, if we do get enough action, we've got some more thoughts, so it might be worth at some point doing a quick kind of summary episode just on those. That's kind of my thoughts. Yeah. So get involved, people. Maybe get Dave in on that as well.
Yes, definitely. So obviously, Ant's already mentioned you can drop us an email at drop us an email. We're thegeeks@geeksyndicate.co.uk.
Excellent. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm just excited. I might actually go and watch the episode again at some point. And yeah, thanks for listening. We will talk to you next time.
Laters.